Yeah, they're outside right now. All right, here we go. Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of Utopia News Warcast. Your host, Wind. Today I'm joined with MUGA's DavidC. We're going to talk about the new war score system. As everyone may have noticed, a few wars have already ended. We're going to take a quick peek at those as well, just see what their war scores look like, and talk a little bit more about the war score system. All right, here we are. So we've got our guest here, DavidC. How's everything going today, David?
Doing great. How about
Awesome.
yourself?
Awesome. I'm doing well, doing well. Had some lunch with my parents today with the kids, and they got to use the pool, so good for them. But it is getting cold now, so
Excellent.
we got to take advantage of those warm days. So, as everybody knows, we have actually, received a forum post with regards to um, the war score system. Now, there's been a lot of speculation how this works in the past, and there's been a lot of upset players with regards to how the system has worked in the past. People have to
Yeah.
remember the game is based on parameters, and of course, the greater your understanding of those parameters and the game itself, the easier it is to learn that system, or what some people would call take advantage of the system. But at the end of the day, it's all strategy, and the fact that you're able to figure it out, I mean, that's good on you. But just a quick little synopsis here of what we're doing, or what Muga's been doing with regards to the war score. David posted a nice little thing here in the forum. The link is in the video description. Be sure to check that out. Let's see what we got here. So the actual formula will not be released publicly. I mean, that's normal. That's never really been done before. However, the new formula takes into account several factors that we expect will ultimately produce a more accurate representation of skill in the war win leaderboard. Now, that's something I think everyone's always been arguing for, but the question was always, how do we achieve that? Some factors in the new formula include weighted values based on existing war win scores of the kingdoms entering into the war, and relative chart rankings in the land, net worth, and honor leaderboards. I mean, that was something we've kind of seen, I think, been added
Yeah,
recently,
the
not
most
just
recent
this
one.
age. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, kind of steroids, a little bit.
Well, so as far as ultimately Warwin scores with the newer system, with the newer formula that we had put out, not quite exactly what we were hoping for. Uh, Whether or not it was better than the system before that had been in place for a really long time, that's, I guess hard to say. But I do believe that, the system we have in place now will be a much better representation
Yeah.
of actual best kingdom. And it's funny it's funny how you said there's always been a lot of debate over how the actual formula worked in the past. And it's been around for a long time, that the more original formula. And just to throw it out there, nobody ever had it right. Nobody ever had any idea what it was actually doing. There's all kinds of speculation, and I always would see people talk about it and this and that, and it's nobody ever had it right. So it's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to reverse engineer something like that. I mean, the game moves so quickly, and the people who are paying attention don't really have time to look at that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's in the game,
Yeah,
so
yeah, and I mean, as far as war win score goes, it's one of those things, like, if you can if you understand, the way you described it, if you can understand how the explore formula works, like, there's things you can do to take best advantage of that. If you understand how the gain system work, you can best understand how to find great targets and things like that. But the way the system works, war often fight good kingdoms, and the points will come. I mean, so if you understand exactly how the war score system works, there's very little benefit to that. So the mystery behind the actual formula, while it we like to keep it a little bit of a mystery, whether you know it or not, there's really no unfair advantage that you can get just by knowing how the war score formula works.
yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you're winning your wars and getting tons of points off just beating up ghetto kingdoms or kingdoms who have no real warring plan, I mean, that's going to be very
Exactly.
reflective in your final score. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just a quick look here at some of the scores that we have on the board right now. It looks like everyone's got some points at the very least here. Let me just move your screen out of the way here so we can check both at the same time. But yeah, I mean, as you can see here, the highest score is a 12.90 right now. Yeah, okay, cool. You can see
Yeah, so
both of
everybody's
those.
starting with 10. The base will be 10 that everybody starts with. Because, we've introduced right now, first time ever, where you will lose points for losing wars. So everybody has to start with something so that you can go down.
Yeah, and I think that, I think that's something that's always kind of been missing in the war game. I mean, I feel like everyone just gains points no matter what recently with some of the changes because you get points as you go into the war, right? But it's kind of nice to see. I think this has been suggested many times actually that points be taken away. But I mean, it's kind of cool that you're given
Hmm.
an allotment to start with. So I mean, I guess it's fair to say that on average you're going to see, any kingdom that goes to war is going to have about 10 points per war less what they've lost in their war, at the end of the.
Well, no, so it's everybody starts with a base of 10 score, and then you'll go up and down from there, a couple points here and there.
Oh,
Because
right.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
not
it's
like
yeah, yeah.
you don't get 10 points for the war. Yeah, yeah. It's just your kingdom starts with 10, and then as you win or lose, it'll go up. And one of the things you just kind of mentioned, the change of your score as you enter a war. We haven't done anything to change that right now, but we may consider doing that in the future. So that's definitely on the table, changing the way the system works to evaluate um, the net worth factor, your average opponent strength factor.
And is that something that's
And
just
so that's
gonna,
kind of how you see.
yeah, is that something that's just gonna
Sorry,
be
go ahead.
looked at on the kingdom level, or is it gonna look at every single province?
That's at the kingdom level, based on the average opponent relative net worth. That factor does affect your score. And right now, what we're seeing is all the kingdoms that have a score other than 10 and have not completed a war yet, it's because of that factor. And so, what we're going to try to probably do is change that to only go into effect after the war has been completed.
Awesome. That's good. That's good information here. I mean, let's take a look at the number one kingdom here. 12.9 points. That's pretty substantial. So 2.9 points was taken away from the enemy, essentially. I mean, this must have been one kick butt war. They only have 22 provinces. I mean, let's take a look at their opponent here. See what they were rocking. 22 provinces. I mean, in standard war fashion, you see, they just got, decimated, left in the dust essentially. Whereas, the winners here are now top in land rank, almost top in honor rank, and top 20
Mm,
in the net worth rank here. I mean, that's normal. What we see from winners generally coming out of a war stat. Is there
mm.
any plans in the future to maybe like reduce the amount of land bonus or honor bonus to maybe slow kingdoms down a little bit who are winning lots of wars?
We can certainly look at whether or not that needs to be adjusted. I think the theory behind the award for land and honor is to inject this stuff into the game. Otherwise, there's no creation of acres other than explored acres. So it's really a way to you know basically inject the land and honor into the game for everybody to go after.
Right, right. Yeah. And I mean, I guess kind of what I was kind of getting to was like some of the lower level kingdoms or the mid-tier warring kingdoms were just stating how hard it is to catch up to some of the more experienced kingdoms like 4-4 last stage where they just took dominant spot at the top and pretty much rode that for the, like at least 6 years or 7 years of the age almost. They didn't really know how to deal with that. And by the end, 4-4 was significantly larger in net worth and land to the point where, if the age had kept going, um, they would have just kept growing out of control.
Never been caught. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is, the way I see it usually working anyway is, as you get to those top positions, after a war win, if you can handle a very good end of war ceasefire, then it puts you in a good position to be able to utilize your explorer pool. So not only did you if you're number one and two, or like if you're top five or something like that in land and net worth, and you're all close, if you fight a good war and you come out a lot through the war, and then the war bonus, which is capped. So like there is a cap on the war win bonus. So it's not like you can just jump huge acres. But not only did they take a bunch of acres from their opponents, which puts them ahead of the rest of the pack to begin with, they get the bonus, and then they have that opportunity to take advantage of all the explored pool land that they might have built up over time, over the age, and just really pull away from the others. Being in end of war ceasefire, they're basically secluded from the server, and if you can do it effectively, that's how these kingdoms get to the position of number one being significantly larger than number two, and then number two and three just not that they don't give up. It's just sometimes there's not a very good opportunity for them to get into position to fight that number one spot anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to look at all the implications once you get up to the top there, and you can just kind of sit in a greedy pump mode. I mean, you're stacking Wizard's Break or Thieves Breaker is never really an issue because people are not really in range anyway. I mean, you're really safe up there. You can do pretty much whatever you want. But I mean, that isn't to say that we saw Barco sitting at the top at the beginning in the first couple years this past age, and they were quickly taken down, and all it took was one failed war and they lost their position, and that's when 4-4 took up the crown there basically, and just rode it all the way to the end of age. Which, by the way, congratulations 4-4 again on your quad crown. That was pretty sweet. I think Mansour was
Yeah,
pretty upset
absolutely.
at the end there, but I did like his banner that he had where he was like He-Man or whatever. That thing was pretty sweet. Yeah, so I got up on my screen here everyone who's actually finished their war, including winners and people who withdrew. Um, it looks like, some interesting names on here. I mean, Old Geezers. I don't even think that's a full-size king. Oh no, they got 22 now. So good job, Old Geezers. Pirates up there with a withdrawal. Wishmasters with a win. As you can see, some people have already tagged in the game, which is kind of nice to see. Just, I'm gonna just bring this all up here so we can take a look at everything that's going on here. Just take a quick look at, who's who, if we can recognize anyone. Doesn't look like too many people have tagged. Some interesting names. We got the Lego Company, Kingdom here. Let's see if there's anybody else. Retirement home could be anybody. There's lots of retirement homes here. Let's see. Themeless, BOL. Um, let's see. 4-4. Who knows? Maybe they're just playing a game with everybody, pretending to be 4-4 from last stage. You never know,
Yeah.
though. The game does have a way of putting you in the same location sometimes, age
Mon-
over age.
monsters look like they're tagged up.
Yeah, monsters. We got villains. Metallic Symphony. Who else we got here? Yeah, there's monsters. Uh, Empyreans have already tagged up. Who else? StarCraft. Let's see who else is here. And of course,
So one thing I just wanted to touch on, you mentioned it a little earlier. The There is a portion of the loser's score that gets taken away, but it's not the entire amount that the winner gets. So there's actually there's two different numbers that get generated to determine what the war score uh, will go to for the winner, and the loser doesn't lose that full amount. So it's not like that the number one kingdom gained 2.9 points in their first war. The loser didn't lose 2.9 points; they lost significantly less than that. But just the fact that now you are losing points is, I think, just a big thing.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a detractor to just giving up wars, but at the same time, I think it kind of makes people feel like they're doing a little bit better than before, especially 8 points I think was like the highest war win kingdom last age, and this kingdom that just lost their was in the worst position to withdraw, I guess, in terms of the war score being awarded, is at that right now. So we're really changing the way the numbers look with regards to the war score. And yeah, to your
Yeah.
point, they only lost like 1.01 points here, whereas the other guys over here who did take the victory got 12.9 points. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty nice little buff there. So it'll be interesting to see what these numbers look like at the end of age. Kind of gives you a
Hmm.
sense of who you're warring as well. Because when you see those, like, I felt like before, like, if you saw anyone under zero point 0.5 war score after their first war win, there's something, sketchy had to be up with that war. It was a really one-sided war. Whereas, most of the kingdoms, though, that were warring, you were seeing them, in the zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.9 range, which kind of made it hard to discern who was who. I feel like this age possibly is going to be a little bit easier to see who stands out from the pack because of this detraction to the war win score, especially if it is working correctly and it is based on the relative net worth, honor, and land factors. I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's exactly what the game's needed. It's nice to see that some of these changes are being implemented. And you know what? I have to say there was a lot of kingdoms that went to war. I mean, like let's take a quick look at who's going to war right now. I mean, that's a pretty big list actually. Like normally when the age starts, there isn't that many kingdoms that are actively looking for war out of protection. So
There's
great job everyone.
33 wars right now.
Yeah,
33 wars right now.
yeah, exactly. And that's crazy. I have to say, in the past few ages, even last age, I think this is possibly more wars than we saw in the last couple of ages right off the bat. Even the kingdom that I'm in right now had an out of protection war. And it's nice to see that the rest of the server is too, because if it's 30 wars, there's about 104 kingdoms on the server, less maybe five empty kingdoms or some with one or two people in them. That means that 30%, let's say about 30% of the server is engaged in war right now, which is pretty awesome. I mean, it gives a sense of the warring population. And I mean, there's definitely more of a percentage there, probably people who were looking for war, but their targets were snatched up by somebody else, so now they're kind of just looking. But this should give you a good sense of, who's really war hungry this age. I mean, take a look at these numbers here. All these kingdoms are ready for war this age, and I think the changes are great as well. I mean, Persian did a great job last age mixing it up, throwing two races in. I know we've talked about it before. What are your thoughts on the race combinations? Is that something that's going to stick around for a while, or are we going to see
Yeah,
personalities coming back?
it will. It will. I do like, I mean, everybody's been asking for a shakeup, something major, and you know, I, you, I say Persian, but spelled differently, I guess. But yeah, so he did a great job, really, you know, changing things up, and I think we'll definitely keep it around for a little while. It's certainly not going to be something that we just, scrap after. Obviously, this is the second age, so we'll go at least, a few more ages with this to really see if it's something that fits well, or if it's something that we want to, change around to get, personalities back. But I definitely think we'll give it a good run and see how it works out, because it's definitely interesting. And the first time we had the interesting dynamic of no personalities from the second race if you were a you know pure blood, and now any second race doesn't have the penalties. So um, I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can do with it to incentivize first pick over second pick and stuff like that, so that you could have a human orc that is different from an orc human. And I think that would be really, I think that's probably what we'll see next stage, because right now essentially they're very similar, except for I don't know. They're similar. We'll leave it at that. They're very similar. And next stage, I like to see a bit more um, differences between, something of the same picks, just depending on the first pick.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's great, and I like the building bonuses that came in from Genesis as well. I thought those were pretty sweet. Definitely have an impact on how wars are played out. I think the biggest thing here is, you're getting a lot more allotment going towards your building space. And again, probably why Undead was such a popular choice this age, because you get to dump 10% of your farms right off the bat. If you're an orc, let's say, you got your training ground. effectiveness increase there. So you basically only have to build, what is it, like 20 or 25% training grounds, let's say, and you're basically at max effect for an orc who's at 100% BE. I think it's something like that. Um, but it's really cool to see those changes because it changes the game up a little bit and puts a lot more emphasis on buildings, because people are going to be putting a lot more um, into certain buildings or being able to spread it out a little bit more. With the dragons are the way they are. I came in a little bit late in the age, and I'm sitting on a province who has a dragon attacking the kingdom, and I'm in protection, quote unquote. But the dragon is still wrecking my buildings, which I think that's pretty cool as well. So you're not
Yeah.
100% safe when you're in protection.
No, no.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh, sweet, I've got acres to build. And I'm like, wait a second, dragon, what the? Yeah,
Um,
that was pretty funny. So great job, everyone who's won their war. I'm gonna do a little graph for to keep track of who's won their wars today. I'll post that soon on the news site. Other than that, I think we're in for definitely an interesting age. It looks like people are really hungry for war. The war score looks pretty sweet. Is there anything that you can think of that we haven't really touched on here with regards to changes on the new war score, David?
no, not really. We still have, similar to last stage, it's got a factor based on your location in the various charts. So, the better you are, the more potential score you can get. But ultimately, the same statement holds true. Fight better kingdoms, get more points, and I think that's really what this formula will do.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think again that that's what people really want, and there needs to be some incentive to take on kingdoms like Warbirds or the newly formed 4-4 kingdom from last stage, which I'm not sure
Yeah,
how many
absolutely.
too many people know about them without giving away all their information. But that's a very special kingdom. We'll just leave it at that. But again, a really tough war
Yeah,
opponent. Um, but I think this is really nice because it gives you again that incentive to war up, hit the bigger opponents, go for those more risky wars. Um,
yeah, and we expand. I basically expanded the relative size. So if you're fighting bigger kingdoms, you will get more for doing that. If you're beating on smaller
nice.
kingdoms and your average relative opponent size reflects that, then you're going to be much more significantly impacted because of that. So, the kingdoms, and I see it, in the chat all the time. People fight bigger kingdoms, and how can this kingdom that I'm fighting is way bigger, and these other guys who fight small kingdoms have a better score than us. And so that's one of the things that I also wanted to expand to make it a bit more impactful, to fight bigger, fight better kingdoms, and you get rewarded for that.
Yeah, and that was something I was always talking about for the past 10 ages. It'd be awesome to get rewarded adequately for having those crazy battles where you war up like basically 20%. So you're up 100, your opponent's 120% bigger than you in net worth or something, and you're even down one province, let's say, but you wreck them and take out like 1 million net worth in the first wave. That puts you in a good position to win a war like that. But again, you want to be recognized for all that effort that you're putting in because those wars can generally be significantly harder to achieve such a good coordination. And I think that's what some of the smaller kingdoms and some of the newly formed kingdoms are kind of missing is that like unspoken coordination that only the most veteran players would have, so they can act independently, just knowing the base plan from the monarchy. They don't have any trouble turning around or going from a completely chained out province to someone that's growing and a real threat again. um, it all comes down to how you play the game, how you understand the concepts and how you work together as a team as well. I've just got the top 10 kingdoms up here, just to take a look, while we're talking here. Again, no one's really tagged here, so there's not too much to look at. I hope to have some conversations with some kingdoms who may be open to talking in the future, like about their wars and their experience with the war score system currently this age. So anyone who's currently warring, or anyone, anyone at all, not even top tier kingdoms, mid tier, even if you're a beginner kingdom, definitely reach out to me if you want to talk about your wars or talk about the new system, and if you think it's a good setup or not. And of course, if there's anything you think that could be done differently. And of course, David, that invitation goes out to you as well if you want to join in on any of the future podcasts to talk about this kind of stuff. I do have a couple planned already, or some that are currently in the works. We just have to iron out exactly what topics we're going to be looking at. And again, I hope to be issuing some virtual crowns, some physical ones I can post on the Utopia News website for everyone who won
Nice.
their crowns last age, and hopefully some interviews
Awesome.
with some of the individual crowners, because as we all know, 4-4 took the win. They're kind of not sure if they want to do an interview, and I don't blame them. They had a pretty good interview the age before, and several ages before that, and they kind of say the same things over and over again. They don't really like to really reveal too much information about what they did and how they're doing it, because that's part of what makes them a top kingdom. So awesome, awesome stuff. All right, David, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you to everyone out there in Utopia land. I think this is going to be a great age. Definitely look forward to more warcasts, and of course, reach out to me if you have anything on your mind that you want to talk about. David, did you have any final words for the community?
No, no, I think just good luck, have fun, and let us know what you think so we can continue to improve the game.
Exactly, exactly. And you know what? It's all about communication, everyone. Together we can make this game great again. There's plenty of opportunities out there, and there's just so much possible with this game right now. There's so much to be expanded upon, and so many changes that we can make to change it up without, overhauling the game completely. So hopefully we get that app done soon. That'll be a great milestone to achieve.
Agreed. Agreed.
Awesome.
We're focusing a lot of effort to try to get that done. That's one of the reasons why we brought some more help on board to really focus on that so we can make it a reality.
And I think that's what everyone wants. And I've always wanted a Utopia app. I thought that would be the easiest way to interface with the game. I find myself spending a lot of time just logging in. Um, when you're at your desk trying to work, or you're on the phone or talking to your boss, and you got your phone on your desk trying to log in to make an attack or something, it's really inconvenient to have to keep opening your browser and stuff like that. Whereas you could just open up the app and just be like, oh yeah, attack, sure, go, go, go. As long you
Yeah,
could be connected all
yeah,
day if you wanted to, and browsers and stuff always time out. So it'll be awesome once we get that going. Thank you so much for joining me today, David. Thank you everyone
no
who
problem.
joined for the podcast. Of course, there'll be lots more to come in the future. This is your host, Wind, signing off. Thank you everyone, and have a great night.